Hello, hello. How are you, Pati?
Good. How are you? I need to change my name.
Very good. Why? I like it.
Is
Hey, Tin. Pat?
Johnny joining?
Yeah, he is. I told him
Okay.
he had to join 5 minutes before.
Okay, so to quickly recap, not to recap, to discuss the agenda. So the first 10 minutes I will take over, and then just to talk about OpenGuild and ecosystem updates. And then the rest of the 50 minutes will be hosted by Tin, and he will ask you all the questions that I sent you.
Perfect. It sounds
Just
good.
curious question. So, do you have any, because like the agenda of the call, we mainly like gonna focus on the first, the DeFi Builder Program. Yeah, mostly like the DeFi Builder Program, and also like the Velocity Labs and Polkadot in general. So I wonder
Yep.
if you have any slide that you would love to share. That's okay if you don't. Yeah.
No, we don't, but we can share the landing page of the
Yeah.
program, which has all the
Yeah.
information, and it's so we can probably do that. I can open it just to have it ready.
Okay, so we will start shortly. I'll just start on time, then Johnny can just follow anytime. I will take over the first 10 minutes anyway.
Okay.
Okay, I'll share my screen. All right, we can start. Well, okay. Oops. What's going on? Okay. All right. Let's officially start. Welcome back to everyone. Welcome to another community call of OpenGuild. This is our 56th community call. So thank you to everyone who has been, watching and being with us every Friday or every other Friday that we are doing the community call. For tonight, so this is going to be about shaping the future of DeFi on Polkadot. So we have here Nico from Velocity Labs, and later on, he will discuss more with Tin about the DeFi Builders Program. But for now, let me talk about OpenGuild, right? OpenGuild is a developer-focused community in Asia. So initially, we were starting in Southeast Asia, but currently we are also talking and building talking to builders in other Asian countries, and also helping the active community members in the East. So that's what we're doing currently. And we're doing two things. So one, more on activating communities, right? So we are doing meetups. We are doing workshops. We are also sometimes leading the sponsoring the major conferences. So this is more like activating the community in the local cities around Asia, but we're also providing developer resources for anyone who wants to build on Polkadot or anyone who wants to know about building on the blockchain, right? So the way we're doing this is, of course, like how we can typically onboard developers or builders in the ecosystem, which is, teaching about the blockchain programming first, of course, introducing about Polkadot and how they can build on Polkadot. So with that, we have this builders resources. We have this build.openguild.wtf. So this is all about hackathon tips, challenges. If you want to build or you want to build or explore your ideas, you can post here your ideas. Hackathon resources. This is your hub. This is for you. But there's also another one. This is the learn.openguild.wtf. This is for the curious minds. If you're from other ecosystem or if you're just starting, this is the hub for you. We have different types of resources, of educational resources. We have Google Slides, we have video playlist also, and we have reading materials that are written by other technical writers in the ecosystem. So Tin here, he was the one to structure these reading materials on how we think it's best to build on Polkadot, right? So this is where you will see this in both build.openguild and learn.openguild. So yeah, please join OpenGuild Discord, follow us on X. We are here to support. If you want to build, or if you're just curious, or if you want to activate your community here in Asia, or even not in Asia, right? We have a lot of experience, or we have some partners even outside Asia that we can make you their official Polkadot PIC or Polkadot person in that local community. Feel free to reach us out. And yeah, next, for the Polkadot ecosystem updates, first, Mythical Games. So Mythical Games FIFA Rivals reached their 1 million downloads this week. This is only like 6 weeks after they launch. And for the Pudgy Party app, they reached this 250,000 downloads on their first week. So congratulations to Mythical Games. Mythical Games has always been in the ecosystem updates because there's a lot of milestones being reached. Congratulations, doing a good job. Next, Hyperbridge. So incentivized by the DeFi Singularity campaign, they reached their 3 million TVL milestone in less than 2 weeks since the launch. Congratulations again, and also to Hyperbridge. Now going to events, Polkadot is going to Singapore, hosting this Arcadium, the official side event of Polkadot. This is organized by Serotonin. This is going to be on the 30th this month from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. So this is going to be interesting because this is not like a typical side event, 3 to 4 hours networking. Feel free to come, follow us on X, and also in Polkadot account, X account, because we are sharing there the link to register. After that, after Token 2049, we are going to Sub-Zero. So Sub-Zero is Polkadot's developer conference, flagship developer conference. This is going to be before DevConnect. So we will see you there in Buenos Aires. This is hosted by Web0. Web0 is known for, setting up this cool hacker house where developers still have fun, but also a safe space to build and to know each other or know other developers even outside the ecosystem, right? So we will see you there. And of course, DeFi Builders Program of Velocity Labs. They just launched this program, but we will share with you more info in a few minutes. Just last one for me, OpenGuild, we started this newsletter where you will have a recap of monthly activities and ecosystem updates for regional builders to get updated, right? If you want to be added here, please reach out to us or message us or join the Discord and let us know if you want to be added in our newsletter. There. So again, join us in OpenGuild. Discord is our main community channel, communication channel. So we'll see you there. We will be there to support you. We will be there to assist you in any way we can. Yeah, I think that's it. On to you, Tin.
Okay, yeah, really happy to have Nico and also like and I think like it's great to have a program like this. And I think like a lot of builders, even right now, like on OpenGuild, we running like the rent support program, and there's a lot of brand applicants like would love to join the DeFi Builder program as well. Labs, the missions, and also like what the team is currently working on.
Absolutely, I can start there. So thanks, Tim and Pat, for having us in the community call. We're big fans of what you guys are doing in the APAC region, and we definitely need more programs like the one you guys are running. So yeah, in terms of Velocity Labs, Velocity Labs is a ecosystem builder and DeFi venture studio for Polkadot. So it was spun out of Parity Technologies before funding Velocity Labs. I was head of DeFi at Parity, so I overlooked all the strategy from Parity Technologies around DeFi integrations, infrastructure integrations, and actually building out the DeFi ecosystem in Polkadot. We did think that there wasn't enough emphasis and enough importance in the DeFi vertical at that point in time. And we thought that a standalone entity with a clear focus and clear drive towards DeFi adoption using Web3 Polkadot technologies was definitely needed. So we operate in different areas. We're basically the BD arm of Polkadot with anything around DeFi and infrastructure. So DeFi, I guess it's pretty self-explanatory. We try to attract builders building DeFi products into the Polkadot platform, be that to build their own parachains or to deploy smart contract applications on the soon to be launched Polkadot Hub. And on the infrastructure side, infrastructure is sort of like a big word, but we mostly talk about token infrastructure. So anything that has to do with stablecoin issuers, centralized exchanges, on and off ramps, custodians, oracles, bridges, et cetera, all those are things that are fundamental for any Web3 platform to be able to be attractive for actual DeFi builders. And that was something that we were lacking as an ecosystem. So we've put a lot of effort on that. And we actually operate one of the biggest bounties in the ecosystem. It's called the DeFi Infrastructure and Tooling Bounty. So we actually fund a lot of these initiatives in a decentralized manner, being led by Velocity, but also supported by 7 other curators in the space. And yeah, the latest, of course, I'm sure we'll get more into it, and Johnny here from the Velocity team will give you the details. But yeah, the latest is that we launched the DeFi Builders Program to provide a funnel for new DeFi builders coming into the Polkadot ecosystem.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great introductions. Do you want to add some input, Johnny?
Hey Tim, yeah, thanks for having us today. And yeah, I think it's just a quick intro from my side. I led DeFi and institutional markets for an RWA business before joining Velocity as head of BD and assisting Nico, and obviously the Velocity team in all of the integrations he's mentioned from infrastructure that's needed for Polkadot Hub, right? That all the builders, require as a standard. And then obviously now that's leading into, bringing more very excited as we're talking today about obviously the DeFi Builders Program, which will act as a funnel for and an opportunity and a platform for innovative builders to come and utilize our smart contracts platform that will be a first, for a lot of builders to explore what Polkadot has to offer as an ecosystem.
Thank you. That's a great introduction. Yeah, so like from a perspective as a builders on Polkadot, I'm basically like just showed Polkadot around 2024. So like my experience compared to like you guys experience in the field, it's not like comparable. So in that way, like because you guys have like a strong background in DeFi and also like in Polkadot ecosystem, what's your view on the DeFi landscape of Polkadot since the very beginning of like the ecosystem until now? Like how has it changed?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can chime in. As you mentioned, I've been in Polkadot already for close to 5 years. So I started my career in Polkadot at Akala as head of ecosystem development there, and that was just as they launched the first parachain. Actually, I think it was November 20. Oof, sounds like a long time. 2021, 2022, I forget. But it was a completely different landscape. Not only in Polkadot, of course, as a very new ecosystem, but also broadly in the space. At that point, Polkadot was practically the most important thing in crypto after Ethereum. If you think about the narrative at the time, it was Gavin Wood as the co-founder of Ethereum going out and building something that he thought it was going to be better, more performant, that made more sense from a technical perspective. And that was also prepping itself for a world where we were going to have a lot of chains, right? That wasn't really consensus at that point, and Polkadot was a pioneer with this architecture. In terms of the launch process, it was very organic that most of the initial parachains were DeFi focused, right? It wasn't really like an active effort from Parity and the Web3 Foundations to actually target DeFi specifically, but it was just like the most common use case. It was the one that was sort of starting to find product market fit in Ethereum. And it was also where most of the funding was going. It was where most of the excitement was at from the side of the builders. So naturally, most of the parachains, I think out of the 10, like 7 had to do with DeFi. So and I remember at that time we wanted to focus on like more edge use cases like proof of personhood, which of course is something that we continue pushing, decentralized AI, decentralized storage. We wanted to be kind of above the speculation, right? And that's something that we have as a community. We really value the technological aspect and not only the economic and financial aspect of Web3. And I think that pushed us to ignore DeFi a little bit. And that made it very hard for DeFi teams to actually thrive in Polkadot. It's a lot of reasons, but like for any ecosystem to actually grow a DeFi ecosystem within their chain, there needs to be a lot of intentional investment in it, in the form of infrastructure, in the form of capital allocators, in the form of DeFi incentives, liquidity incentives, et cetera, et cetera. And naturally, that was something that we lacked. So fast forward until today, where we have a completely different landscape, where Polkadot really isn't like at the top when it comes to mind share across all developers, and where Polkadot isn't the first thing that comes to mind when people think about DeFi, right? Of course, we have hydration, which is definitely our golden star and probably our best team right now, next to Mythical, but it's clearly not where it should be in terms of DeFi adoption, and that's basically what we want to change. So actually, the mission of Velocity Labs when we founded it was make Polkadot into the best platform to build DeFi applications, and we always have that in mind with everything we do. So what we do is basically, okay, we had a time where we were leaders in DeFi. That kind of went away, and we started to look, okay, what are the gaps and what are the issues that we should address for us to get back at top? And that's basically the main focus of the things that we do in Velocity. That's why we focus on infrastructure. We identified an infrastructure gap in Polkadot because of us not being EVM compatible, and because of us having this multi-chain architecture where infrastructure providers have to integrate each parachain separately. We also acknowledge a lack of funding support and builder support for DeFi specifically, hence the birth and the launch of the DeFi Builders Program. And then, by the way, it's not only been us. We can't take all the credit. The Web3 Foundation, Parity have also realized this and have put more effort into DeFi. And we now have ecosystem funds, which we didn't really have, supporting builders and supporting liquidity deployments across the space. So we're trying to put all these pieces together, and the expectation or the goal is for Polkadot to be back at top when it comes to DeFi and DeFi KPIs.
To add there as well, Nico, on top of what you've said, what has become quite clear, and maybe just to make it a bit clearer for listeners, is hydration being a parachain on its own, to ask DeFi builders, or at least DeFi projects, to come and do that on Polkadot, to grow that DeFi ecosystem. The ask was for them to launch their own chain, right? And that is quite a big lift from a resource perspective, from all the kind of decisions that go around launching your own chain, not just a DeFi product alone. So a big emphasis on why Hub is so important, or at least Polkadot Hub is so important with its smart contract layer, so that we can have that gap, to fill that gap, right? Which is come to Polkadot and build great DeFi applications, but you don't have to go and immediately launch your own chain. You can now come and tinker with smart contracts, launch an application on Polkadot Hub, and then there's a natural progression that can happen. Should you get all the traction, should you get all the, or you need more customization, or you need that more scalability, for your application, there's obviously now embedded, and we're the best at it, right, in Polkadot, to migrate to your own parachain, or at least your own rollup thereafter. So that's sort of where the Hub fits in, and also maybe a piece of why DeFi has possibly lacked, in the past, and how we're looking to solve it going forwards.
Cool. So I see like there's a lot of like problems in like Polkadot that restrict it from for like the DeFi road. Can you guys like mention one specific problems, maybe the one top problem that you have in mind? That like when I ask that question, you can answer that. So for me, I think that it would be, I guess, like liquidity fragmentation. Yeah. So what do you think?
Yeah, Nico, you go ahead.
All right,
go ahead.
Liquidity fragmentation, it's part, but I would make it even broader, and it's liquidity access. Like we don't have that much liquidity overall if you add all the parachains, and mind you, like hydration is taking huge steps, right, and close to reaching their 500 million TVL goal, which is a huge milestone. But even when you compare us to other ecosystems like Solana, Arbitrum, Ethereum, even Avalanche, which I see as a very direct competitor to us, they're in the billions of TVL, right? Multiple billions in some cases. So we're still very backed up in terms of overall levels of liquidity. To your point, Tin, I think just our architecture makes that fragmentation a hurdle to overcome. And XCM, of course, is an important tool to overcome that, but I don't think XCM has come to that maturity as to a user feeling like they have liquidity in 5 different parachains, but it feels like one. It still feels like they have liquidity in 5 different venues and they have to move it around. So there's a lot of work to be done there. But for me, it's just accessibility of liquidity as the core problem. And it starts with us as users. We can have USDC, USDT on Ethereum, on Arbitrum, on Solana, all of these big ecosystems, and try to onboard into a Polkadot parachain and see how hard it is. It's literally very hard. You need a lot of knowledge of actual Polkadot architecture. You need to know, oh, I'm landing on Moonbeam, but where I want to go is hydration, so I have to make another hop. We also deal with wrap tokens in a lot of the cases when you bridge Snowbridge, for example, it was a big accomplishment because we deployed the first trustless bridge from Polkadot to Ethereum, but it's taken us a lot to actually solve the wrapped stablecoin problem because you land on a wrapped USDC. So then the user has to know, oh, this is wrapped. What can I do with this? And the reality is that you can't do anything. You have to swap into native USDC for you to start actually leveraging the use cases that Polkadot offers. So that's a huge barrier to entry, not only to users, but to liquidity. And I think that's basically one of the choke points that DeFi has had in Polkadot. Now, how are we solving it? Well, first I already mentioned Snowbridge, even though there's some things to improve there. That was a big milestone for our ecosystem because we connected the two biggest ecosystems, Ethereum and now Polkadot. But with Hub, we're going to be able to access much of that interoperability infrastructure that we haven't had access to. So the layer zeros, the wormholes of the world are going to be able to onboard directly into Polkadot Hub. And we already have tools like Turtle, which is the application that our team at Velocity developed to be able to abstract away those hops. So if you want to go to hydration from Solana, it could potentially look like a wormhole transfer to Hub and an XCM transfer into hydration, but without the user having to know that he did a hop, right? So all of these things still need a lot of work, but the point being is we basically need to lower barriers to entry to liquidity. Right now, it's still very frictioned.
Yeah.
How's like Turtle has been like rolling so far? I remember like you guys like published the launch of the Turtle a few months ago, the Turtle widget, and I think it's a great tool, like a very good UX first product. So how has it been like going so far?
So you said it right. So we have Turtle app and we have the Turtle widget, right? So we initially launched it as the Turtle app because first we wanted to build the foundation of it and build all the use cases that we wanted. The goal of Turtle is basically abstract away token transfer movements in and out of the ecosystem and also within the Polkadot ecosystem. So with that, we've integrated Snowbridge, we integrated Paraspell, which is the XCM SDK, and we've also added cross-chain swaps. Again, so if a user basically has USDC on AssetHub and he wants, I don't know, DOT in Bifrost, we can abstract away the fact that the USDC goes into hydration, swaps USDC into DOT, and then XCMs it over to Bifrost. So basically the user just sees I had USDC on AssetHub, and now I have DOT in Bifrost. So I think the application is actually very good. We put a lot of emphasis on the UX and UI to make sure that we abstract away all that complexity. And the second iteration was, okay, how do we enable all this functionality for applications to have it directly in their UI? So I think we launched this probably like a month ago, and we're already working with two teams that are interested in integrated, but we've yet to have our first use case into production. But hopefully in the next couple weeks or months, we'll have probably one or two parachains to integrate the Turtle widget directly into their UI.
Yeah, thank you for the input. The another interesting topic that I think we can also like, discuss about, like nowadays, in like recent years, like institutions pay a lot of attention to blockchain, and recently there's also a new stablecoin blockchain from like Web2 like traditional companies, for example, like Stripe or like Circle. So but like the point is like all those like stablecoin infrastructure are the layer one, not the layer two. So how there is apply to like Polkadot when you like try to onboard like a new enterprise to build on Polkadot, a new DeFi applications on Polkadot?
Yeah, it's definitely a big catalyst that rollups have seen, right? Has kind of invalidated the use case of layer twos and to some extent parachains. And it's basically, well, let me put a step back. There's a lot of different audiences for the blockchain product, right? Hydration started as I don't know, a small team, probably let's say 5, 10 people, and look at where they are right now, right? But you also have the other way around, which is companies like what you mentioned, Stripe. I don't know how many employees they have, how much market cap they have, and they also come in and they want to build a blockchain. So those are two completely different use cases because they have completely different goals, completely different requirements, completely different resources to actually execute on this project. So for the latter, right, for the smaller team, for the one that's just starting out, I think launching your own layer one, it's just way too hard, mostly because of how you're going to secure the layer one, right? Your chain is only as secure as the economic value securing it, right? And it's only as decentralized as the validator set that's actually validating the blocks. And doing that requires a lot of time, resources, connection, reputation, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas you don't need that to launch a parachain, or you don't need that to launch a layer two. You can just like spin it up and you're leveraging all that infrastructure that Polkadot provides, or in the case of layer twos, that Ethereum provides, right? So I think this is a new thing that we're seeing these big companies stepping in and building their own chains. That was something that we didn't see before. They would try to basically dip their toes in the water by issuing a token, or maybe building an application, or maybe composing with an already existing DeFi application and testing things out. But we didn't see like these initiatives take on such massive overtakings, right? Like building a blockchain themselves. So I think that's basically what we're seeing now that they're actually interested in building their own blockchains. They're considering the options of launching a layer two and launching the layer one. And for them, the trade-offs are just better with a layer one. They have the resources to build the validator set, they have the resources to secure the chain, they have the engineering capabilities to actually build out a very complex system on their own chain. And they don't need to like spin it out quickly, like maybe a smaller team would want to. So I think what we're seeing is just the design space of blockchains as a service being expanded, and there's just products for everyone, for the one that wants something off the shelf to the one that wants to build a super custom blockchain.
Yeah, thank you for the input. Do you want to add in, Johnny?
No, I think Nico's covered that quite well.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So can you also like share a bit about like the strategy that like the Velocity Labs is currently like have and also like plan for in like the upcoming years, because like we have Polkadot Hub is coming in, and we're gonna be like on mainnet on like the first quarter of 2026, or like the end of this year or something, as I remember. And we also like gonna have like jam, and there's a lot of things happening on Polkadot in the upcoming years. So what's the strategy of Velocity Labs when you tackle to solve the problems for like DeFi landscape on Polkadot?
I mean, I can give you some high level there, and Nico can kind of add in some details as well. I think if we look forwards, we've touched on some of the core deliverables of Velocity and what we're looking to and what we've been tasked to kind of achieve within the Polkadot ecosystem. A big part of that, obviously not on the technical side, obviously that's on Parity and the core developers, but on the go-to-market side and bringing in all the right infrastructure providers, right, from the Ethereum world, or at least EVM world, the infrastructure providers that are crucial for any applications we're trying to onboard. Blue chip DeFi applications to come and deploy on Polkadot Hub. So, getting all of those parties and all of those providers working together and obviously integrated in efficient timelines so that we can build out, your DEXs, your money markets as almost the table stakes, the DeFi table stakes, to have let's say, a basic functioning DeFi ecosystem initially on Polkadot Hub. That will be, part of our strategy going forwards now into the end of the year. That also leads us into the DeFi Builders Program. I haven't mentioned sort of stablecoin adoption and what have you. I think I'll let Nico sort of touch on that and some of our goals around, increasing obviously, stablecoin issuance and adoption on Polkadot. But if I come back to kind of Hub, and we look at DeFi Builders Program, which is a big part of what we're going to discuss today, that is also another big deliverable for us, but will be a funnel of new native teams to come and build innovative apps around the table stakes DeFi ecosystem that we've already, we're working towards getting in place. So guys who want to maybe look at a slightly different way to liquidate markets, in a money market, guys who are looking to come and say, okay, maybe there's some advantages I can get from the shared security, right? Or the scalability, right? Advantages that Polkadot has. And this is who we're trying to attract, is kind of net new builders to come from the Ethereum world, to come from the EVM world. We're not discouraging, obviously, builders from Polkadot as well, but, they will be building on a smart contract platform, an EVM platform. Then going further abroad, this is a cohort, so we'll have 5 teams as part of this cohort. And then, part of the bigger goals going forwards as well is to run this over and to have another cohort, right? And to have maybe 2 or 3 more editions of the DeFi Builders Program thereafter. Because, if you look at any kind of, as Nico mentioned, go to Avalanche or Arbitrum or Base for that matter, there's not 5 or 10 DeFi teams, right? There's 50 to 100, right? There's a lot. You'll have your core ones, which will have, the lion's share of the TVL, right? And the liquidity, but there will be a lot of players around those as well that adding in unique strategies or at least unique products offerings. So yeah, part of our bigger goal is to get our own native builders coming and building cool, innovative products in the DeFi ecosystem as well going forwards.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the other thing I'll add is that we are taking sort of a progressive approach to the launch of Hub, kind of in 2 stages. So the stage that Johnny mentioned is what we would call V1, and it's okay. Let's make sure that we launch a bustling DeFi ecosystem with the more basic DeFi primitives, right? The DEXs, money markets, yield protocols, aggregators, et cetera, everything that Johnny mentioned. And that's mostly the focus of the BD work that we're doing right now, and also leveraging the DeFi Builders Program to have native builders come in and build those solutions. There is a V2 part, which will probably happen around Q2, Q3 of 2026, and that's when the fully fledged capabilities of the PVM come into place, right? So to reiterate, the V1 is basically, hey, EVM developers, come in and deploy your applications without having to tweak anything, right? So it's a little bit hard to differentiate there, given that there's so many EVM applications, EVM platforms out there, but we're trying to differentiate in non-technical things like the DeFi Builders Program, right? Providing the best platform for builders to come. So that's V1. The second is when we'll try to embed the technical advantages that the PVM offers. And I think given that the PVM is a completely novel smart contract platform and virtual machine, we haven't really seen what's possible, right? But we at least know that it enhances performance. It enables the possibility of an application actually being coded language, right? So that V2 will also leverage the DeFi Builders Program and the second or third iteration of it, but we'll try to focus it more towards these things and trying to come up with very interesting use cases that at that point will only be available in Polkadot. And that's how I think that we'll start differentiating. The differentiation piece is going to be a little bit harder in the first version, when we have to be honest about it, but it does unlock a lot of things for our ecosystem, like the first pain point that we were talking about, Tin, about like accessing liquidity. With the V1, we'll basically solve that problem. So that's why the V1 is still not in vain. It's still going to be a huge unlock for us as Polkadot, but it's not going to be a huge unlock for crypto in general. The V2 is where we'll start actually doing more experimentation and hopefully building unique things that just haven't been built elsewhere.
Okay. I think that we are starting to mention about DeFi Builder Program now. So I think it would be interesting to dive deeper into the programs. Do you want to like share the screen to talk a bit about the programs? I can share the screen. Yeah.
Do you want to pop the
Yeah.
website
Let
up
me share
there?
the screen for you guys. Yeah.
That'll be great. Thank you. Yeah, perfect.
Cool.
Yeah, nice. So Tin, I mean, I think we can maybe just start with a little bit about the kind of the vision and the goals for the program, if that works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've touched on it on a few points here, but really I think is we're trying to establish Polkadot Hub as kind of a leading destination, right, for in time sort of next generation DeFi innovation, right? So by empowering builders to come and create, unique applications, as Nico mentioned, kind of more of that uniqueness and more of that leveraging of Polkadot's kind of security, scalability, and interoperability would come in later versions. But really, this is the starting point, right? This is the starting point for us to really start to get builders coming in and using the smart contract platform. We've looked at it from the start and we said, okay, we've got a lot of resources within Polkadot. Decentralization is important, right? But it does have some drawbacks, which is obviously, it's easier to find things when they're all in one place, right? If you've got multiple baskets of things, you've got to go and look in lots of different baskets. It doesn't mean the value's not there, and it doesn't mean the things aren't there, right? For lack of a better explanation. So I think the point I'm trying to say is like we've got access to funding, right? We've got access and across different strategic grants programs, either through the foundation, through the various bounties, through the treasury, right? Which is a big benefit within Polkadot. We've got access to great developers, right? And great development teams, right? Through Parity and other development teams and Papermoon on the documentation side. We've also got ecosystem partners, from a liquidity deployment perspective to assist in that. We've got VCs that are very much focused on, deploying funds to Polkadot, specific teams as well. We've got a great marketing department, right? We've got the Polkadot Blockchain Academy, right, for builders to go and kind of learn how to build, and actually, learn about Polkadot from very basic to a lot more advanced in the different tracks that they have. We've got teams like Velocity, who have a lot of good knowledge about the problems that we're facing, B, what we're trying to solve, and also we're busy solving them. So we've got a very good place within the ecosystem to provide go-to-market support, to provide advice on tokenomics, on product design and strategy, and utilizing all of these resources, but putting them all into one basket, right? Putting it all into one place that we can, give good teams a nice, easy way to access all of this. That's already available within the Polkadot ecosystem. So that was the idea behind it. And, we're really trying to target kind of top tier builders, or at least very innovative builders, guys, who, are familiar with building with, the tooling in Ethereum, that are looking to come and find a new home. There's funding, there's TVL support, there's go-to-market assistance, providing marketing services, whether that's across AMAs or at least, giving them one-on-ones on how to market as a Web3 company, providing, hiring resources, should that be required at a later stage, giving people access. I didn't mention the Assurance Legion as well. So PAL, in terms of giving audit subsidies for their smart contracts audits, and obviously technical mentorship and the business development go-to-market mentorship that Velocity will provide as well. So selected teams will get access to all of these tools. I mentioned it's going to be a cohort based system, so we'll have multiple cohorts. We're trying to keep this one quite narrow and focused. So there'll be 5 teams that will be selected as part of this first cohort, and successful teams will get access to all of these resources and tools over a 12-week program, which will culminate in, at the end of the program, in a VC and demo day with some of the top VCs and investment partners and investment funds within the Polkadot ecosystem.
Okay, yeah, that's really great. So like, which stage of the team that applied for the cohort are expected to be? Because I remember like you mentioned about like the investment round, talking with VC. So I wonder like what stage of the team are expected to be. Would they be like in the MVP stage, or like they expected to have the existing product on the other change which already have user and liquidity, and they just come to Polkadot and build on it?
No, I think you've touched on all the points there, right? They can be at any of those stages, right? If they're already on another chain and they've got users and liquidity, I think that's a good sign already, right? That they were able to actually build something, ship it, deliver, and get some traction. If they're looking to iterate on that product, if that's an innovative product in itself, we'll obviously look at each thing objectively, each application objectively, and we'll be applying a very high sort of, let's say, point system based on how innovative their product is. If it's just a fork of sort of Uniswap, it may not get many points in terms of innovative, or innovation, but we'll be applying quite a high ranking when we look at applications on how innovative their product is compared to the market. So I think the short answer there is it could be MVP stage. It could be already working product stage. It could be very early stage. If the team's got some experience, again, it's going to give them, some higher points when we evaluate these applications, right? If they've contributed to some very important code bases, it's also going to give them, higher points when we look at the applications. We are trying to attract quality here. It's only 5 teams. So there will be an emphasis on that, but across all stages of development. And Nico, if you want to add anything there.
No, I think you touched on the key points. Maybe the only thing I'll add is that, well, it's our first cohort, and even though we might have a preference over earlier stage teams, right, to be able to support them from 0 to 100, it's all going to come down to the applications that we get, right? The goal is to, out of the however many applications that we get throughout this month where applications are open, we'll pick the best teams, right, that provide the highest guarantees of developing something unique, something that's going to be used, something that complements Polkadot as an ecosystem, and a team that's willing to push the boundaries of what's been built already, and that brings something different to the table. So it's all going to come down to how many applications we get and the quality of those applications. That's why we're making such an effort to put the program out there, to join the community call here, to join the decentralized mic with the Polkadot socials, to make sure that the vast majority of builders are aware of the program, and that we hopefully cast the wider net to get the best builders out there.
The other section that draw my attention is like this: what we are looking for. So like I agree. If I understand, like all these are like the domain of the DeFi project that the programs are targeting at. But like one of my concerns, because we ran a few hackathons in OpenGuild for like the whole 2025, and then one of the problems we found that like the Polkadot Hub right now is not like well mature to support like some difficult upcode, some complex upcode, and in that way, like when like the team deployed the smart contract on Polkadot Hub, they got a lot of trouble. So I'm curious, like first of all, like solution like chain abstractions, onboarding, are like the team who apply for the program are expected to deliver like a full-fledged solution that can, working for this type.
Yeah. So what you're referring to was when we were launching with the PVM itself. But we took a different route, technically speaking. And maybe it'll be good for your viewers to link the forum post where the technical product manager, Jan, gave the full scope of what's going to be built. So in fact, we did see those problems with the early builders that we were bringing to testnet, and seeing that the EVM incompatibility was just too big to have a decent amount of builders come in. So we went back to the drawing board, and now we're going to build something that's we're calling the EVM backend. So it's basically going to be same EVM bytecode, and it's going to be as seamless as deploying smart contracts on Arbitrum, Polygon, OP Stack, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that friction is not going to be there anymore.
Okay, yeah, it's great to hear that. All right. Do you want also like to explain a bit about the detail of the program, like the whole 10 weeks?
Definitely. Yeah, of course. So, we've looked at the program and also looked at other accelerators and successful accelerators. I wouldn't call it, we're slightly different to an accelerator in a way, but there are a lot of similarities. So firstly, obviously, part one, we've taken and divided into 4 parts or 4 stages over a 12-week period. And the program will consist of, your general onboarding, getting to know the teams a little bit, getting to understand Velocity being the program manager and kind of their main contact points throughout the sort of 12-week program. We'll give them some, critical information they need and documentation that they can obviously, I'm sure they would have had a look at that already, having been accepted to the program. But really, first 2 weeks is kind of getting feet under the desk, introduced to the network that'll be available to them, the network they can leverage across all of the partners, which we mentioned earlier, right? Web3 Foundation, Parity, Wave Digital, Sitel, PBA, Hypernative is another one, who, is one of the leaders in on-chain kind of security analysis. Real kind of work in. It'll be a mixed tin of one-on-one sessions where most of those one-on-one sessions will be actually with Velocity Labs, and sometimes on the technical side, we will take teams one-on-one, right, and have sessions with them that way, and a mix of sort of webinar style sessions where the whole cohort will be part of, a presentation done by one of the partners on a particular topic, for example, marketing or tokenomics, for example. So that's what sort of part 2 would be going through. Product design and strategy. We're going to help them with their milestone structuring, because obviously the way we would look at providing funding initially would be based on kind of milestones. So, certain development milestones would have to be, achieved in order to unlock certain levels of funding, of the funding available to them throughout this sort of initial program period of 12 weeks. So we'll help them with the milestone structuring. That's what Velocity does on a daily basis, right? As part of the bounty that we operate and part of the integrations we do with, blue chip DeFi teams, blue chip, infrastructure teams as well. We'll also take them through sessions on, we've got outside partners who will help them with branding, UX, UI advisory, the on-chain security readiness. I mentioned Hypernative. Marketing strategy, how to build their narrative, right? How to build their story. In a long line of sales that I've kind of been in and sort of client facing and, business development side, one thing that always stuck with me was, one mentor always said, it's how to sell the sizzle and not the sausage, right? The sausage being your product. You got to sell the sizzle, which is, I don't want to use the word hype, but it's the sexiness of it, right? So how to build that narrative and that story, I think, is very key. So there'll be sessions on that. Tokenomics deep dives. We'll obviously have regular MVP milestone check-ins, to see how the teams are going and if there's any blockers along the way. We'll move into part 3, which gets more into kind of the execution, the go-to-market prep. We've built a lot of the product now. They've got a very good idea of what this product is going to look like. We'll then start helping them with go-to-market strategy with a number of partners, BD strategy as well as a team. We've got a lot of teams that might be very good at building, but not very good on the kind of outward facing go-to-market business development side of things. So we think that'll add a lot of value. And then, there's, which I think is a big unlock in part of this program is access to VCs and ecosystem funds, right? We will give them, a workshop on how to go to market to fundraise, pitching practice, how VCs look at projects, how investors look at projects, and how they find, projects to be good investments or not, and hopefully, these sessions can also help teams to, solve or at least design their narratives, or at least design their products, or at least have a good go-to-market strategy which aligns with being able to be investable, right? And move towards kind of a revenue positive position earlier rather than later, right? And then how we can deploy liquidity. We've got obviously strategy sessions on that and DeFi advisory. We'll give them, access to obviously, documentation around smart contract audits, how they can go about, applying for those audits with the Polkadot Assurance Legion. And then at the end, a VC virtual demo day. So being able to actually pitch, their product to, investors within the Polkadot ecosystem and possibly from outside as well. We're in some talks with, some big VCs too. So, I think that'll be a great end to the program. And there might be there'll probably be some touch points after that in terms of post-launch scaling and other pieces. That velocity will obviously wrap up with the teams thereafter.
And thank you for that very details. My last question would be like for any team, like for any RAN applicants that want to apply for like the programs, what's like the expectation and also like what's like the key requirements from the curators, from you guys? Yeah.
In terms of teams applying, you're saying what are the key things they need to have in place? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. What's like the key requirements that like the application needs to have?
Okay. Well, I mean, the form is there, right, on the website. They've got they can see they apply now, so they can go and see all the questions we're asking. I think the more detailed, the better. In my experience, if you leave it too vague, we're looking at a lot of applications. So, I think it also goes to show a lot about the quality and the commitment of a team by the time they take in the application. That for me is a big one. So if it's just slapdash put together, in a few minutes, hoping, that we'll go and dig everything out, it's probably not going to happen, and you may miss out on this opportunity. So I think quality will shine out, right, in terms of the application. It needs to be in the DeFi vertical. So yeah, there's no point applying if it's kind of, some sort of tooling or kind of infrastructure that's not DeFi specific. We're looking for DeFi applications. I think that is a a critical criteria. Outside of that, we welcome anyone to apply within Polkadot, from outside Polkadot, right? From the EVM world, they're all welcome to apply.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and I think that's also a great wrap up for today community call. Well, I think like we already had a lot of insights about like DeFi landscape and also like the programs. And I hope like there's gonna be like a lot of builders, a lot of teams that are gonna apply for the programs, and we're gonna see like a next like innovative project after like the cohort of like the DeFi Builder programs. And yeah, and thank you, Nico, and also like thank you, Johnny, for joining our community call. We really appreciate that and hope that we can also like have a future call in the future. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for your time today, Tim. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
and
guys, for
have a
having
good
us.
day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See ya and have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.